Today's consumer doesn't want to be sold to on Facebook any more than they enjoy watching a commercial on their television. As social media has evolved, customers have evolved as well. Social networks today are much different than what they were 10 years ago. Today, they are publicly traded corporations which are in business to monetize their user data. Therefore, to have a chance at winning through social media marketing, you need to understand the rules and play within the boundaries of each social network. Social media isn't free, and it's not new anymore. It's a business. You need to find ways to stand out. In this presentation, I'm going to show you how to get the most out of social media for your business and teach you proven methods to make you a better marketer, grow your thought leadership, and create more engaging content for your business. No different than music moguls Drake and DJ Khaled. Now, I'm sure you've heard or seen the Shiggy Challenge, which to date has earned a whopping 7.3 million views on Instagram. Imagine when you add up everyone on the internet who participated, including Will Smith, Ciara, and Odell Beckham Jr., how many more views have been generated for the In My Feelings song, which has over 200 million views on YouTube. Today, people are brands. You are competing for attention against other corporations and also real people. Let's begin.
Woo! How's it going, Atlanta? Are you all excited to learn how to humanize your brand on social media? All right, by a show of hands, real quick, how many of you over the last year saw the Shiggy Challenge in your newsfeed? Wow, look around, because all those hands going up symbolizes where social media is headed to. In fact, I just finished writing my first book. It's called The End of Marketing. You can order it now on Amazon, so quick plug. And part of the Shiggy Challenge really, along with the last 10 years of my career of working in brand marketing, really influenced me to write this book. Because marketing as we know it, my friends, it's over. It's dead. Marketing as we know it no longer exists. Because today, marketing isn't just sending out direct mail and running Facebook ads and having a presence on social media. It's really about making human connections. So much of what I want to share with you here in this presentation is centered on humanizing your brand. And what does that mean, humanizing your brand? It's not working with influencers. It's not just creating content on Snapchat and Instagram for the sake of checking off that box to make your boss happy or say that you're doing cool shit in your job. It's actually making human connections, real relevant connections with your customers. But first, let's talk about what's new in the world of social media. And for those of you that are following along on Twitter and on Instagram, I want to invite you to add me at CarlosGill83. Be sure to share all the amazingness of this presentation out with your community. Now, it's no secret, social media is a noisy place. This slide that you see right here in front of you shows the internet in 1 minute. I'm going to give you context in this because the internet today, especially social media, is what I refer to as a digital pandemonium. It's noisy. By a very quick show of hands, is there anyone in this auditorium that does not have a profile on Facebook? A couple of you. For those of you that raise your hands, are you on Instagram? Heads nodding, guess what? You're on Facebook. Facebook's collecting all this data from all of us. But what I mean by this, that the internet is a digital pandemonium, is that it's noisy. If I had to survey each one of you in this auditorium, I would probably find out that not only do you have a presence on Facebook, but you're probably on Instagram, you're most likely on LinkedIn. And what all of us in this auditorium, not just as brands, but as personal brands are doing, is creating noise. So as a brand marketer, you really need to stop and ask yourself, how do I rise above this noise on social media? You know, I'm going to run through some of these statistics just so you can see how noisy social media today really is. On a platform like LinkedIn, you have 120 users joining LinkedIn every single minute. You look at a platform like Snapchat, over 500,000 snaps are being shared every single minute. You go over to Twitter. Any Twitter users here in the house? Yeah, a few of you. Make sure you're using the hashtag DSATL. Just want to throw it out there. Twitter's a noisy platform. You're only as good as your last tweet. Let that resonate for a moment. When you tweet on Twitter, within seconds, you will already be out-tweeted. There will be someone else, another brand, another person that's already taken away the very little attention that you're getting. Then one of my favorite channels, and quite frankly, one of the most important social networks that exist, is YouTube. You have over 4 million YouTube videos being watched every single minute. And then one of my favorites also is Instagram. Instagram, through Facebook, recently announced that they might be removing public-facing likes. So if you heard that news recently, that's a sign that as a marketer, you need to do something different. Because just having a logo that people recognize, just having a brand that people recognize, that's not going to cut it anymore if you want to rise above this noisy digital ecosystem that we're in. And then let's talk about the algorithms for a moment. How many of you over the last year have contemplated removing yourself from Facebook or your business because it's just become too hard to market on Facebook? I know I have. I know I've had those conversations with clients almost on a weekly basis. Because let's face it, it is hard to market, not just on Facebook, but on social media when people aren't paying attention. We are at the mercy every single day of these social networks. Every single time that Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat announce that there's a new UI, UX update, there's a new change to their algorithm, I cringe because I say, oh gosh, now I have to go through and retrain myself and retrain my followers and retrain my clients because social media is constantly evolving. Now, to put this in perspective, this is your audience today on Facebook. Facebook has matured. It's grown up. You've got mom and dad on there. You've got grandma on there. I joined Facebook 10 years ago when I was 25. I'm 35 now. Right? Life changes, but the reality is that the audience, as they mature and evolve, so do how these platforms are used. The reality is that on Facebook, you're only seeing about 1% or less of engagement, which is pretty bad. I think we can all agree. That sucks. That hurts. Now, by very quick show of hands, who woke up this morning to see what their favorite brand of all time posted on Facebook? Anyone? Single person? Look around. No one. I always enjoy putting this slide to put it in perspective for marketers because as business operators, as marketers are using social media in our businesses, we don't eat our own dog food. Let's just be honest. We're in board meetings, we're pitching to our agency partners and to our clients and to our executives that we should be doing all these cool things in social media, but yet as consumers, we ourselves aren't gravitating to these platforms because why is that? What has a platform like Facebook become? It's become a pitch fest. It's become where brands go to advertise, and it's where consumers go to ignore brands. So I often say to my friends, my marketing homies that say, you know what, screw Mark Zuckerberg, screw Facebook, you've got the algorithms, you've got Cambridge Analytica. I always say to them, first of all, don't be mad at Facebook that you suck at marketing. And second, don't hate the player, hate the game. Because the game today of marketing has changed. And that's why I said before, marketing as we know it is dead. And to go forward over the next 10 years, you need to find ways to remove that logo, that company name, and replace it with a real person, with a real face. Because the reality is that faces today, people are the new brands. When you think about your own activity on social media, who are you following on social media? Most likely you're using social media to do what? To engage with friends, to engage with colleagues, to consume content from people like myself that are providing value to the business community, to engage with creators and influencers that are helping you disconnect from the real world and plugging you in and making you feel connected in this digital parallel universe, which is the internet. So with that being said, corporate brands slowly going away on social media, people, influencers, creators, those are the new brands, and your challenge is taking a page out of the DJ Khaled playbook, taking a page out of the Kardashians playbook, taking a page out of the playbook of all these influencers that you see, and create your own influencers. And you do that one by one by taking your employees, making them the faces of your brand. 2, using social media to listen. In fact, social media, the greatest competitive advantage that it gives you is the opportunity to listen to what's being said about your company, your competition, and your industry. If you're not using social media actively as a sounding board to see what's being said, then you're really missing the opportunity. Because in doing so, you will come across folks that are passionate about your brand, people that are already buying, people that have real influence. Now, before I talk about DJ Khaled for a moment, how many of you in this room are familiar with DJ Khaled, who he is? Okay. Wow, a lot of you. So, which is great. I was in Salt Lake City like a month ago doing this talk, and like no hands went up. I was like, this is gonna be really tough. So, to put this into perspective, for those of you that aren't familiar, or if you are but you don't see his content actively, DJ Khaled is one of the most watched people on the internet today, undisputably. He's not the best looking, he's not the most articulate, but you know what? He does something that most brands are not doing effectively today. He is real. And I'm gonna share with you just a very quick snippet of his content.
The sun is shining on me. All praise to the Most High.
Director calls for big applause. We go berserk, alright?
That sun find me. Everywhere I go, that sun find me.
That's real talk. All right. Again, not the most engaging. Like, you're not gonna watch a DJ Khaled on Snapchat or Instagram story and necessarily like learn how to grow your business, but what I will tell you is this. DJ Khaled has given all of us a formula to follow if you choose to accept it. Over the last couple of years, I left corporate marketing, working for brands, to work for myself. And I will be the first to raise my hand on this stage and say, I do zero business development today, and I've been able to grow my agency in 2 years because I've followed the DJ Khaled playbook almost to a T of documenting what I do. And by documenting, it does what? It draws people in. They feel like they know me. They feel connected to me. Every one of you is able to do that with your brands. Every one of you is able to create personas within your own companies, create personas within your own communities, and allow those personas to tell the narrative of your company. An example of that you see right here on the screen, DJ Khaled with Silk. DJ Khaled, girthy guy, is teaching us how to live better lives, how to eat healthier. He's also teaching us how to take care and nourish our skin through partnerships with Palmer's. DJ Khaled's even teaching us how to do our taxes. And DJ Khaled's teaching us what to drink after we do our taxes. You know, the proof is in the pudding when you have a company like Weight Watchers that signs DJ Khaled as being the new spokesperson for their brand, and their stock goes up 8% in one day. Now, the reality is this. Most of you don't have a budget to afford a DJ Khaled, but most of you, like my colleagues at Hertz that are here in the building, can work with creators like myself to help humanize your brand. You can use social media once again to listen to what's being said. And if you see this consistent pattern, where as you're on Instagram and you see you're being tagged by consistently the same people, you see that the same people are liking your content, commenting on your content. Every time you post on Twitter, these individuals are the first to swoop in. You know, years ago, I used to run social media for Winn-Dixie right here in the Southeast. We would create relationships with our bloggers, our mommy bloggers that were going into our stores, because social media provides us all this data to help us be more human, to have more effective relationships. So how do you keep up in this noisy digital ocean that's social media? Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to slow down. Let me be the first to tell you, in case no other guru or marketing thought leader has ever told you this, you don't need to be on every social network. You don't need to be on TikTok just because TikTok is hot right now. You don't need to be on Twitch just because Twitch is hot right now. You don't need to be on Snapchat. You don't need to be on Instagram. You need to be on the social networks where you can be great. You can't be everywhere at every moment of the day and be great. You just can't. So my recommendation to every single one of you is to select the 1 or 2 social networks where you're seeing the biggest ROI or where you're able to effectively reach the most amount of users or customers as possible. If a platform like Twitter is under-delivering for you, chop it. If you're getting less than 100 views on Instagram stories, then don't do Instagram stories. Like, again, I think us as marketers have developed this mindset that because we read a TechCrunch article, we have to go do this. Or you watch a couple of brand marketers talk about these platforms, all of a sudden you feel like you have to be there. If there's something that these social networks do really, really well, is they provide us with access to data. They tell us, out of the people that follow us, who are they? Where do they live? What gender are they? What age are they? So as you're looking at your data, if you're analyzing and seeing that you're not reaching the right audience, chop it and move on. The next point that I want to bring up here is audit your channels consistently. These algorithms are constantly changing. Your community is constantly changing as well. Moving on this theme with how do you keep up, let's talk about how often you should post, because I get asked this question on a regular basis, especially at events like this. How often do I need to post? Do I need to post every day? I hear that you have to post 3 times a day on Instagram. You have to post 6 times a day on Twitter. Look, post when you have quality content to share. That's what matters. The life expectancy of a post on social media, if it has no engagement, is less than a couple of hours, okay? So if you have quality content, what will happen is your audience will naturally engage and want to share that content. And here's a mistake I see brands making all the time is the call to actions. Like, we're all guilty of this. We want people to visit our website. We want people to opt in to our loyalty program. We want people to comment and to like and share. Well, guess what? The algorithm on all these social networks is deprioritizing your content because you are asking for the engagement and you're not paying for the engagement. See the difference there? These social networks are digital advertising platforms. So if you're paying for it, they will give it to you. It might be crap engagement, but they'll give it to you. If you're asking people, they're going to deprioritize your content. So how do you post and how do you sell without overtly selling? Well, once again, if you have eye-catching visuals, all you need is a catchy caption. Ask an open-ended question. If you put, let's say, a video or a photo and you want your audience to comment or to like or to visit your website, ask your audience, how does this make you feel? I did a seminar in St. Louis on Monday, and I had a brand in the room. I did a live audit of their Facebook page, and they had this caption. It's a retail brand. They had this caption, they had this post on Facebook where they were trying to sell gift cards for graduates. And it was like this long, drawn-out post. Like the whole premise is, post up a gift card, buy this for the graduate in your family. And I said to that brand marketer, you know how this could be much more effective? If your caption just said, who's a graduate that you know? Who's a graduate that you honor? Who's a graduate that you want to celebrate? There's no call to action there. It's obvious. You have a photo of a gift card that says $25. People know what that is. Lead your audience to what you want them to do. Other examples, I work very closely with partners like WeWork. And the content that my team and I create for WeWork, we never once mentioned the word office in any of our content. Because it's implied that what's WeWork do? They lease offices. So when people already know what you do, you don't need to constantly remind them. Again, this value exchange, this value that you're hopefully going to start giving your community, if you're not doing it already, should lead them down the path of where you want to take them. Does that make sense? Now, conversation is content too. I love Twitter because with a platform like Twitter, you can type in a search phrase and you can immediately see who's speaking about your brand. And you can start having conversations with those people right away. And like the beauty of it is that you don't even have to have conversation with your own customers. You can be a savage, like Wendy's, and go after like your competition's community. Like that's the beauty of the space that we're in today. Social media, my friends, is the wild, wild west. Like there's no governing body, there's no rules that say that you can't use social media to infringe on someone else's social media community because that brand doesn't own the community. Twitter does. Facebook does. Now, let's talk about the algorithms for a moment, because knowing the algorithms is key. If you want to really understand how to pivot and be more human, then you need to do some of the things I just mentioned. Stop asking for the sale, stop asking for the engagement, be more real, be more relatable, but what else? What else do you need to know? And that's original content. I see this happen every single day where, once again, we have our own KPIs. We have our own benchmarks. We're trying to drive people back to our .com. I get that. But what happens is your content's being deprioritized by the social network because you're sending users to a third party. So the way that Facebook and YouTube and all these social networks operate is they will reward you by posting original content. So instead of posting a video that links to your YouTube channel, post a video natively on Facebook. Start driving your view count up. That's a form of engagement. Instead of driving people back to your .com to read a blog post, start using Facebook Notes to create original content on Facebook. Now, the next thing that you need to know is this growth hack. I would recommend that you write this down because this right here is a ninja growth hack to re-engage old fans on Facebook. So you create all this content, and oftentimes that content goes away and you never see it again. But guess what? Your best performing content is what I refer to as your golden oldies of content. Your top 40s, your top 40 hits. You should go into Facebook Insights directly on a desktop and go see your top performing content on Facebook over the last 6 months. Every single week, find one post from that list and re-engage the followers or the community on that post. So what you are going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to see everyone that commented on, let's say, a post from 6 months ago. Most likely, you didn't comment back then. Now, you should go through and you should like every single one of those comments, and you should comment back. And by doing that, it's now going to bump that post back into the newsfeed, almost like if it's new. The other step that you absolutely need to take is start engaging more with the people that are truly passionate about your community. This is step one. Like, I do these exercises every single day, and I can't tell you how frustrating it is when a VP of marketing sits in front of me and they say, you know, Carlos, like, we're not seeing any return on Facebook. And I pull up their Facebook page, and they've responded to nobody. And they're just shooting out content all day long. If that is your brand, please stop now. Start putting more emphasis into the people that are commenting, the people that are responding, the people that are engaging. Engage back with them. Have more conversations. This video that you see here is literally before doing a keynote at Digital Summit Seattle, because I recognize the value of community as a personal brand and as an entrepreneur. There's no reason why, if I can do this, your teams that have 6, 7 people working for you can't do it as well. Think about that for a moment. The next is around stories and storytelling. So tell more stories, but don't sell. Like, I love Snapchat stories. I love Instagram stories because they're real and they're raw, and also because they expire. So you don't have to create professional-looking content with a studio or an agency just to get in the game of stories. What stories should do is they should bridge the gap between one Instagram post to the next Instagram post. So let's say your strategy is that you post once a week or twice a week. So in between those posts, use stories to keep your audience engaged. That way they see your logo up at the top of their newsfeed every single time that they go onto Instagram. But you should definitely have a theme. And as you see here, there's 2 nice-looking guys on the screen. One of them is Drake. The other is myself. And you should have a theme. Either educate or entertain. You know, I will be the first to humbly admit I'm not on social media to entertain anyone. I am on social media to educate. And that's what works for me. That's why I speak on stages like this. Most brands, by nature, by design, are not entertaining. They just aren't. But every single brand can educate. Every single brand. Every single brand in this room should be able to educate consumers on how to use their services, where to go, what to do, what to eat. Like, whatever it is that you do, teach your audience, teach your community what to do with the value that you provide. Because if all you're doing is just selling, if all you're doing is just showing up and saying, like, hey, we've got Coca-Cola on sale today, people don't give a shit. They really don't. But if you're forming real conversation with your community, asking them questions, swooping into their DMs randomly, swooping in when they don't even tag you or mention you, then the light bulb goes off in the consumer's mind like, aha, they're listening, they're paying attention. See how that works? So you need to stop thinking like a marketer and start thinking really like a consumer. Everyone here in this room, myself included, we're all consumers. We all know what we want to see from brands. We all know what turns us off from brands. So think less like a marketer. Again, using the example of when I used to work at Winn-Dixie, every single day we would talk about what was on sale. If people really want to know what's on sale, they will go to your website and they will find out. Otherwise, keep your community constantly engaged with what's next. How are you adding value to that community? What are you teaching them? Because community is king. How many of you have heard the phrase before, content is king? Okay? I call BS on that. Because without community, all you have is noise. You can create the best content in the world. If you don't have a loyal community of followers, I don't care if it's just 10 people. If you don't have 10 people to help amplify that content, you have nothing. Nothing at all. So as we look to go ahead and wrap up and we talk about community, and by the way, kind of going back to DJ Khaled, what really impressed me when DJ Khaled first came out on the scene on Snapchat was he would show up to an Apple store, he would show up anywhere, and there'd be mobs of people wanting to greet him, wanting a piece of that. So as you look to build your community, first audit who's speaking about your brand. This is real simple to do. You can use tools like Spreadfast, Sprinkler, Hootsuite, you name it. Heck, you can even just go onto like native Twitter, Instagram, and do this. Run searches to see who's mentioning your brand the most. Literally go over to Google Drive, open up a spreadsheet, start documenting those accounts if you can't actually tag or flag those accounts in the technology that you're using. What you want to do is ensure that you have a hit list of customers. You want to have a hit list of people who are mentioning your brand, because the way that you're going to win these folks over is you are going to stay abreast to what they're posting. You're going to engage with their content. If they mention that they're having a bad day, you're going to swoop in. If they mention that they just got engaged, you're going to swoop in, congratulate them. That's how this works. And then next is thanking your audience. I can't mention how many times I've engaged with a brand or I've sent a tweet to a brand and they don't even tweet back to me. And it's frustrating. And I think as consumers, again, not thinking like a marketer for a second, thinking like a customer, we can all agree that if we send a tweet to a brand or if we tag that brand in a piece of content and they ignore us, it's not a good feeling. The last bullet that you see here is rewarding your advocates. As you go back to your offices, talk this through with your leadership. Have a budget that you can tap into, almost like a fund that you can tap into and incentivize good behavior or incentivize those advocates that are continuously promoting you for free. And look, I'll say this again. The greatest competitive advantage that social media gives you is the ability to listen to what's being said. So make sure that you're listening and make sure that you are also paying attention to what's being said about your competition. One of my favorite brands of social media is Wendy's, undisputably. Because Wendy's is savage as fuck. They don't care who they offend, they don't care who they piss off. You see here on the example on the screen, when IHOP decided to change their name from International House of Pancakes to International House of Burgers, what did Wendy's do? They swooped in and they tweeted, "Can't wait to try a burger from the place that decided pancakes were too hard." Ouch. That hurts. It really does. But I applaud Wendy's because what Wendy's is doing is showing us, very similar to, once again, the DJ Khaled playbook, they're showing us how to be personable even though you're operating under the disguise of a logo. So keep this in mind. You should be involved in your customers' lives front and center. That means you're listening, you're engaging, you're paying attention. You should always be paying attention to what is being said, not just about you, but your competition, as well as your industry. But remember this, my friends, all of this that we're doing on social media, all of this is temporary. There will come a day where there will be a new social network. There will come a day where your community manager is the face of your brand on social media because your community manager has more influence on social media than your actual logo or your brand does. So remember, you can't build a mansion on rented land, and that's all that this is. So I want to thank you for your time, Atlanta. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, you can find me in the back of the auditorium after this presentation. Thank you so much.